Good morning, guys. In the last session, we started our discussion related to first mini project in the JRTP. As I told you, these mini projects are very important for the freshers to improve their analysis skills, to improve their coding skills. In the yesterday session, I have given the opportunity for you people to analyze the database tables and the Java classes. After your analysis got completed, then I have explained my analysis. If I am going to develop this project, what is the table I am going to take? What are the columns I am going to take? And I have explained Java components. What are the classes I am going to create for this project? In that class, what are the methods I am going to take? What is the signature of each method? Why I am taking parameters and data types? That also we have discussed. Now, and yesterday I gave the task for you people to create the project folder structure and create required packages and classes and methods. Now, as we discussed, we are going to develop the application by using layered architecture. So when we go for layered architecture, DAO layer, that is also called as persistence layer, which is used to communicate with the database table. Then service layer, which will contain the business logic. Web layer, which will contain the controllers. Then presentation layer will be available. Now today, I'm going to start this project development. So the first one, the step one, create boot web application, create Spring starter project with below dependencies. So what are the dependencies we are going to use? As we are going to develop a web application, we need to add web starter dependency, and we are going to use data JPA. So for that, we need to add data JPA starter. We are going to communicate with the H2 database, H2 dependency we need to add, and we are using TimeLeaf as a presentation technology. So we need to add TimeLeaf starter, and we need to add dev tools in order to restart the server. This is the first step in order to develop our project. I'm going to create one Spring starter project with the web starter, data JPA starter, H2, TimeLeaf starter, and the dev tools. Let me do that. I opened my IDE. File new Spring starter project. So here I'm going to create this project as 01 mini project. Okay, this is user management application. 01 mini project, user management application. We are going to develop this project by using Maven as a build tool. We are going to package this project as a jar file, and we are going to use Java version 17, language as Java. Package name I am using as in.ashok.it. Next up, boot version 3.1.3, dependencies. As we discussed, we are developing this by using Spring Boot. We need to add Spring Web Starter. We need to add TimeLeaf dependency, and we need to add Spring Data JPA to perform database operations. We need to go for Spring Data JPA, and we need H2 dependency to work with embedded database, right? And we are going to use dev tools to restart the server. So these are the 5 dependencies we are adding in our project. Web Starter to develop web application by using Spring Boot. JPA starter to communicate with the database using JPA. H2 in-memory database we are using. TimeLeaf starter, it is used to develop presentation files using TimeLeaf template. Then dev tools. Dev tools are used to restart the server whenever the code is modified. Click on next, click on finish. So with this, we are able to create one Java project, right? So once we create this Java project, we need to configure data source properties. So data source properties represents with which database you want to communicate. We want to communicate with the H2 database. Window, show view. I want to see project explorer. Yes, this is my project explorer. I created 01 mini project. Now this is our project. Let me close all the remaining projects I have closed them. Now go inside the project, check the pom.xml. In this pom.xml, you can see boot version 3.1.3, Java version 17, data JPA starter, then Timeleaf starter, then web starter, then dev tools, H2 dependency is available. Once after project got created, let us verify, let us configure data source properties. Step 2, configure data source properties in application.properties file. So that means with which database you want to communicate, that database information we need to configure. So how we are going to configure? Go to our properties file, spring.datasource.url. So what is the database URL? spring.datasource.username. Okay, spring.datasource.password, spring.datasource.driver class name, datasource.driver class name. What is the URL? We are using H2 database. So JDBC colon, mem colon, H2 colon, Ashok IT DB, or any DB name you can give, Ashok IT DB. So I'm giving the database name as Ashok IT DB, or you can give it as JRTP DB, Java Real-Time Project DB. Anything is fine. Username I am giving as Ashok IT, password also Ashok IT, driver class name org.h2.driver. Okay, let me change the font style, window preferences, general, editors, text editors, font. Right. I have configured database properties. JDBC colon mem colon h2 colon JRTPDB, username, password. You can give anything. The driver class name is org.h2.driver. That's it. So I have done 2 steps. So here it is development procedure. What is the procedure we are going to follow to develop this application? I'm going to explain step by step, and I'm going to do the live coding for the entire project. But the thing is, before I'm going to do the code, I want you people to try that. Okay, fine. Created a Spring Boot application with these dependencies and configured data source properties in application.properties file. I'm going to communicate with the H2 database. So that's why I configured H2 data source properties. Once we are able to configure the data source properties, let us run our application and test. Is it working as expected or not? Are there any issues? Simply go and run as boot application. I'm trying to start my project to check whether this application is working as expected or not. In-memory database is coming as expected or not. If you see here, our application is failed to start. Our application failed to start. Now, what is the error we are getting? Bean creation exception defined in the resource path, failed to instantiate, driver org.h2.driver claims to not accept JDBC colon, mem colon, h2 colon, JRTBDB. So it is not able to connect with that. That means our data source URL is incorrect. So JDBC colon, h2 colon, mem colon, JRTBDB. Let me change that URL and try that. Refresh, run as boot application. I'm trying to run this project. Now, this time our application started successfully. So last time when I give the URL, that URL is not accepted. So now let me change this. So the correct URL, JDBC colon, h2 colon, mem colon, this is JRTPDB. Project is started. Once the project is started, you can check in the console. In the Spring Boot, by default, we are getting Tomcat as an embedded server with port number 8080. So you no need to deploy boot application in the servers manually, right? So by default, the Tomcat server is available with port number 8080 and the embedded database also started. We can access our embedded database by using H2 console. All good. Now go to console, clear the screen. Now here, let us try to access it. Localhost colon 8080 slash H2 console. So with this, I'm able to open my H2 console. So what is the driver class? What is the URL? What is the username? What is the password? Go to our application. What is the URL we have given? JDBC colon H2 colon mem colon JRTP DB. Give that JDBC URL. What is the username? Ashok IT. What is the password? Ashok IT. Then click on connect. So with this, I'm able to connect with the H2 database. But currently, any tables available? No, there are no tables available in our application. There are no tables available in our application. So with this, our application setup is done and we are able to run the application. So step 3, it is just for verification. Run the application and verify H2 database console. Verify H2 database console. How can we verify? http localhost 8080 /H2 console. Now with this, our application is started and for our application, database is also ready. Do I need to install the database separately? Not required. I'm just developing a mini project for the practice purpose. For that, I want one ready-made database. So H2 is a temporary database. Now we are able to configure H2 database for our application. Are you guys clear with the first 3 steps? Project creation with the required dependencies, configuring the data source properties, and running the application to verify embedded database. Okay, so whenever we run this application, Spring Boot web application will run, Spring Boot web app will run using Apache Tomcat as default embedded container. Apache Tomcat as the default embedded container. Spring Boot web application will run using Apache Tomcat as default embedded container. It will use 8080 as default port number. So you no need to deploy your application in the server separately. Whenever you run your application, by default it will use Apache Tomcat as default embedded container. It will use 8080 as the port number. All good? All of you comfortable with these 3 steps now? All of you comfortable with these 3 steps now? Project creation, data source configuration, verifying the database is available for our application or not. Good. So once this step is completed, then create entity class and repository interface using data JPA. Right? We want to communicate with the database table to store the data and retrieve the data. For that, we need to create one entity class. Let's go to our project. Stop the server now. Not required. So let's start the coding part. Okay. Already we have a base package in.ashokit with the start class. Now we need to create entity class. For that, I'm going to use a separate package in.ashokit.entities. So the entity class name I'm taking as user account. It is a normal Java class now. I want to make this class as an entity class. To make it as an entity, I'm using one annotation called @entity. So this class will be represented as entity class. I'm taking it as a @entity. This class will be represented as entity class. Now in this class, we need to write the variables to map our data to the database table. So if you see in our screen, what are the fields available? Okay, name, email ID, mobile number, gender, date of birth, SSN. And in the last session, we have analyzed the DB structure as well. So these are the columns we need in the database. For these columns, we need to create variables in the entity class, user ID, that is a primary key. So private integer user ID, integer user ID. This user ID, I want to map with the primary key column mapped variable @ID. And I don't want to generate the value for the primary key. So I'm going to configure a generated value. So primary key value will be auto generated by our generator. Then next one, name is available. Okay, private string full name. Full name is available. Then email is available. Private string email. Then next one, phone number. Private long phone number. Private long phone number is available. Then next one, gender. Private string gender. Private string gender variable I'm taking. Then next one, after gender, date of birth. It is a date. Private local date DOB. Local date is a class in the Java 1.8. SSN, that is a number. Private long SSN. Then next one, active switch. Private string active switch. Okay, the default active switch I'm going to take as Y. If you don't set any value, that by default active switch will be setting as Y. So whenever the record is inserted, by default active switch will be Y. Then created date and updated date. Private local date, created date. Then next one, updated date. Private local date, updated date. Now I don't want to set the created date and updated date manually. I want this data JPA to auto generate this value. For that we are going for @creation timestamp. For that we will go for @creation timestamp and @updation timestamp. All right, @creation timestamp and @update timestamp. So I'm using creation timestamp, update timestamp annotations. What is the purpose of creation timestamp and update timestamp? When we insert the record, it should populate the data for the creation timestamp. When we update the record, it should populate the value for updated date column. So to populate the values for these columns, when we perform the operations, we are enabling timestamping concept in the entity class. All right, @ID, @generated value. @ID will represent, this is primary key column mapped variable. Okay, then @generated value, which is used to auto generate the value. Okay, name, email, phone number, gender, date of birth, SSN, active switch. Why I am giving active switch is equal to Y? That means I want to set some default value for the active switch. So whenever you want to insert a record, by default that record will be available as active record. Active switch is equal to Y. Local date for the created date and for the updated date. Next one, for these variables, let us generate some setters and getters. Okay, I'm generating setters and getters for these variables. If you want, you can write toString method also for all these variables. If you use Lombok, then you no need to write the setters and getters manually. You can write @data annotation. In the upcoming projects, I will use Lombok also. Now, do you understand? Do you understand the entity class development now? What is entity? The Java class which is mapped with the database table is called as a entity class. The Java class which is mapped with the database table is called as a entity class. So public class user account. Now we are making this as an entity class. We are writing some variables here. And we are mapping this class with the table. That's it. Are you guys clear with the entity? What is entity? Any Java class which is mapped with the database table is called as entity class. Any Java class which is mapped with the database table is called as entity class. All of you clear with this? Please confirm in the chat box. Right. Now let us go for repository creation. How to create a repository? Repository I'm going to create in a separate package. Repository I'm going to create in the separate package. Now new interface. Repository we are going to create as an interface. I'm going to create a package repository user account repo. To create a repository in the data JPA, we are going to extend the properties from JPA repository. Extends from JPA repository. So this repository should bind with which entity? User account. What is the data type of the primary key? Primary key data type is an integer. So this is called our repository creation. What is the purpose of this repository? This repository is used to communicate with the database table by using entity. So the interface, which is account repository, is extending the properties from JPA repository, and this repository should talk to which table. We are specifying that by using our entity. And what is the data type of the primary key? Our primary key data type is an integer. So with this, our persistence logic is completed. With this, our persistence logic is completed. So we no need to do anything else. We have developed our repository by using entity to perform operations with the database. You no need to write the logic to create the connections, statements, executing the queries and all. So the direct ready-made methods will be provided by our repository. Good. So with this, our entity class and repository is created. Are you clear with repository creation? User account repository, which is extending the properties from JPA repository. So to perform the CRUD operations, the methods will be provided by JPA repository. Then next step, we need to create our service interface and implementation class. Step 4, create service interface and IMPL class. Create service interface and IMPL class. So user account service interface with all the required methods. Let us create one interface here. I'm going to keep that interface in a separate package called service. Let me call it as user account service. So what are the methods we need in the user account service? Yesterday we have already identified the methods. What methods we need in the service layer? So these are the methods that we need in the service layer. Okay. So these are the methods. First one is save or update user account. Second one is retrieve the users. Third one is get the user account. And fourth one is to delete the user. Now let me import all the required packages here. So these are the methods we are writing in the service interface. These are the methods we are writing in the service interface. So if you see first method, save or update the user. What is the meaning of save or update the user? What is the meaning of save or update the user? This is taking user object as a parameter and it will return string as a return type. So whenever user click on this submit button, this form data we will capture in the form of object. that object we are going to insert in the database table by using this method. Same method is used to insert the record as well as to update the record. And the next one, view users. We need to retrieve all the users available in the table, database table. We need to display in the UI. So for that, we are using get all user accounts. We are going to retrieve all the records from the table and we will display. This method is just to retrieve the data. That's why I'm not taking any parameter for the method. Method is returning list of objects. Then there is an option called edit option. When user click on the edit icon, we need to retrieve the record based on the user ID. So for that, I'm taking user ID as a parameter. Based on that, I'm going to get the user account and I will return that. Then after delete. So we can delete the user record permanently from the database. So for that, I have written one method. This method will delete the user record based on the user ID. Next one, we can activate or deactivate the user. So for that reason, we are writing update user account status. It is taking user ID as a parameter, account status as a parameter. Whatever the status you will give, that status will be updated in the database table. So total there are 5 methods available in the service class to perform CRUD operations in our application. Total 5 methods are available in our application to perform CRUD operations. Are you guys able to follow this? Creating the service interface with required methods. Do you understand what is the purpose of these methods? Do you understand what is the purpose of these methods? Whatever the purpose of these methods, are you clear? When I am taking object as a parameter, when I am taking collection as a return type, when I am taking integer, why I am taking integer as a parameter, why I am taking object as a return type. So analyzing these methods is very, very important, guys, because tomorrow in the company, nobody will tell you what methods you need to write for your requirement. So as a developer, that is your responsibility to understand the requirement and write the methods that are required for your application. So this analysis is important. Coding is easy, only analysis is difficult. Okay, we are able to create the service methods. Yesterday itself, we have analyzed these methods. Next one, create the IMPL class for this one. New class, user account service IMPL. I need to provide implementation for these methods. User account service. Okay, which interface you want to implement? User account service IMPL class should implement user account service interface. Select it, user account service. Okay. So this is our IMPL class, which is going to implement this interface. Click on finish. So when we are implementing an interface, it's mandatory that we need to override all the abstract methods of the interface. User account service IMPL class is implementing account service interface. I want to represent this class as a Spring Bean. How to represent this class as a Spring Bean? For that, we are going to write one annotation called @service annotation. So what is the purpose of @service? @service is a stereotype annotation in the Spring, which is used to represent our Java class as a Spring Bean. @service is one annotation. It is a stereotype annotation. It is used to represent our Java class as a Spring Bean. Now, our repository is ready. Now we are developing the service. Service should talk to the repository. So let us inject repository object in the service. How to inject repository in the service? Private user account repository, private user account repository, user account repo. Let us go for @auto-void. Let us go for @auto-void. Private user account repository. I'm injecting into service by using auto-voiding. Why? My service class should talk to repository. So repository we are injecting into service. So how we are injecting? By using auto-wiring we are injecting. By using auto-wiring we are injecting. That's it. So I have created service IMPL class. In the service IMPL class, I'm injecting my repository object so that my service class methods can access repository methods. My service class methods can access repository methods. Are you clear with this concept? I created one interface. In that interface, I have written all the abstract methods which are required for this application. Then I have implemented that interface by creating one IMPL class. So to represent this class as a Spring Bean, I am writing one annotation called @service annotation. @service annotation is used to represent this is a Spring Bean class. This is a Spring Bean class. Now we are doing auto wiring. So how we are doing the auto wiring? We are injecting the repository object into service object by using auto wire annotation. Then I am writing one method to save and update the user account. All right. Now I need to implement actual logic. I need to implement the actual logic. Okay. So here I already got the data in the form of object. Then what I need to do? I need to save that record in the database table. So for that, take the repository dot save. Whatever the entity object we have, we are passing that entity object as a parameter to repository dot save method. So save method is our method, or save method is a predefined method. In the data JPA, save method is a predefined method. So that's why we are going to save the record in the database table. Are you able to follow this? What is the purpose of save method? This save method is used to insert or update. So this is called as upsert operation. Upsert means it can perform insert or it can perform update. So in the data JPA repository, we are having a save method that is used for inserting the record as well as for updating the record. It is used to insert the record as well as it is used to update the record. Are you guys clear? Now, when the record is inserted, it has to return a message saying that record inserted, user account created. If the record is updated, it has to return the message called user record is updated. When we are inserting the record for the first time, that account will not contain the user ID. So what I'm going to do here, if user account object not equal to null, or else I'm going to say user account dot get user ID. I'm going to get the user ID in that object. So whenever you submit the form, currently, when the first time we are going for this form, object will not contain the ID. Okay. If you go to create account, are you going to get the user ID from the UI? No. First time user ID will not be available. So what I will do is whenever the record is inserted, if I say that if user ID equal to null, then I will return the message as user record saved. If user ID is null, user record is saved. Otherwise, I will say user record updated. Okay. So we are using single method to perform insertion as well as update. So when to return saved message, when to return updated message. So it depends upon user ID. When you submit the form, when you load the form first time, name, email, number, gender, DOB, SSN, submit. ID will not come. So if ID is a null value, then I'm saying that user record is saved. If ID is not null value, then I will say user record is updated. Then after, whenever you click on submit, record will be inserted. When you click on the edit, you are modifying the existing record. When you are modifying the existing record, ID already available. If the ID is already available, then we will say that the user object is updated. So single method we are using to create the record as well as to update the record. So how to perform save and update operations in the JPA? Perform save and update operations in the JPA, we are going to call save method. In the given object, if a primary key value is available, it will update the record. In the given object, if the primary key value not available, it will insert the object. So inserting, updating will happen through a single method. So the method which is doing insert plus update is called as upsert method. Upsert, it is used for updating as well as for the inserting also. Are you guys clear with this one? Are you guys clear with this one? I have implemented just one method. What is the purpose of this method? So this method is used to handle submit button. User record can be inserted, user record can be updated. To insert and update the record, we are using upsert functionality. All right. Next one, get all user accounts. So what is the purpose of this method? This method is used to retrieve the existing accounts, just to retrieve the records and return. So for that, we are going to write a logic like this. Repository is available. Using the repository, I want to retrieve the records. Repository dot find all. Repository dot find all. This is the method. What this method is returning? List of accounts. User accounts it is going to return. So simply return user accounts. Simply return user accounts. All right. So my method should return all the records available in the table. So first of all, we need to retrieve all the records available in the table. How to retrieve all the records available in the table? To retrieve all the records available in the table, in the repository, there is a predefined method called find all method. What is the purpose of a find all method? It is used to retrieve all the records available in the database table and return those records to the UI, right? So my method is getting the records from the database by calling the repository method. Repository method is returning the list of records. I am also returning those list of records. Able to understand this method? Very simple. We are just calling find all method. Can we reduce these two lines of code into a single line? Can we optimize the code? Can we optimize the code? Can we optimize this code, guys? Instead of writing in the two lines, can we show that in the single line? Yes. Simply, instead of writing these two lines of code, I am going to write the logic in the single line. See here. How can we reduce the two lines to one line? Return user account repo dot find. That's it. So here earlier, first I called that method. Whatever it is returning, I'm storing into the variable. Then I am returning that variable. Instead of that, directly can I call this method in the return statement? With single line, our task will be completed. That's it. Good. So my method is calling repo.findAll. Repo.findAll method will return list of accounts. My method will return list of accounts. That's it. Instead of two lines, I'm writing the single line to get the data and return the data. Find all. What is the purpose of find all? To retrieve all the records from the table in the form of objects. The next one, get user account based on user ID. So I want to get the user record based on the user ID. So user ID is a primary key column in the database table. So user ID is a primary key column in the database table. How to retrieve the record based on the primary key? By using user account repo dot find by ID. So we are going to pass user ID as a primary key. So whenever you call find by ID method, it will return optional object. Why it is returning optional object? To handle null pointer exceptions. Because with the given ID, record may available, may not available. The JPA people don't want allow the people to perform the operations directly on the objects. So that's why find by ID method is returning optional object. Now we need to check in the optional object really the data is present or not. If the data is present, then return find by ID dot get. it is going to return that object, otherwise null value. So this is the logic. I'm calling find by ID method with the user ID. So that means whenever you click on edit, so that particular user ID will go to the server. So with that user ID, I'm trying to retrieve the record. To retrieve the record based on the user ID, we are calling find by ID method. We are calling find by ID method. So what is the purpose of find by ID? Find by ID method is used to retrieve user record based on the primary key. What is the return type of the find by ID? That is optional object. So when we get the optional object, directly we can't perform the operations. We need to check in the optional really that object is present or not. For that we are calling find by ID dot is present. If this condition is satisfied, that means with the given ID record is retrieved. Then get that record and return that record, because my method should return one object based on the ID. If this condition is not satisfied, then this method will return null value. If this condition not satisfied, this method will return null value. Okay, are you clear with my point? So many people are asking, sir, what is the shortcut you are using to get the return statement? I'm not writing the return statement manually. I'm getting the return statement automatically because I'm using a shortcut. What is the shortcut I'm using? So I'm keeping my cursor at the end of the line, control 1, enter. It will give the return statement of that method. I have already shared one video, top 20 Eclipse shortcuts. I think you people did not watch. The video which I have given with the shortcuts. Control +1 is the shortcut, which will give the return statement of the method and it will store into a variable. Let me share that video once again. Top 20 Eclipse shortcuts. I'm sharing in our WhatsApp group. So whenever you have free time, you can go through that. It will help you to do more work in the less time. So can you check all of you in the group? Did you get that message? Did you get that message in the group? Yeah. All of you give a like for that video. Could you please like that video? Click on like button. Like. Not in the WhatsApp like, in the YouTube like. You need to give like for that video in the YouTube, not in the WhatsApp. The reason I'm asking to like this video is, if more likes are there, then YouTube will promote this video to more people. So it is very useful video for the developers. It will reach more people. In the YouTube, below the video, there is a like option. You just click on that like, so that YouTube will understand that this is useful content and it will promote for the more people. Are you done? People are liking in the WhatsApp, not in the WhatsApp. I asked you to like in the YouTube. People are giving the like in the WhatsApp, not in the WhatsApp. If you give the like in the WhatsApp only, I will see how many people liked it. If you like in the YouTube, YouTube will understand that people are liking this video, then it will promote to more people. It will reach more users when there are more likes. Done, all of you? Okay, cool. So we are trying to understand how to write the logic for edit functionality in the project. So when you go for edit functionality, view accounts will be available. When you click on edit, based on the user ID, we need to retrieve the record. For that, we have written one method. That method is used to retrieve the user record based on the given user ID. That method is used to retrieve the user record based on the given ID. Then next one, delete user account. So we need to delete the record. That is a hard delete. Permanently, we need to delete the record from the database table. Go to view accounts. When you click on the delete functionality, permanently that record should be deleted in the database table. So to delete the record permanently from the database table, we are already getting user ID. Okay. So what we need to do to delete the record permanently from the table, user account repository dot delete by ID. So we are passing user ID as a parameter and we are deleting that user record based on the given user ID. And we need to return true or false value. If record is deleted successfully, true. If the record is not deleted successfully, false. Then what I can do, I will keep this logic in the try block. Okay. And in the catch block, I will just log it e.print stack trace. In the try block, if there is no exception, if the record is deleted successfully, because delete by ID method will return void. There is nothing to verify the record is deleted or not. That's why I will write that logic in the try block. If there is no exception, if that operation is executed successfully, then this method will return true. If there is some problem in the try block, then it will return false value. If some exception occurs in the try block, then I'm going to return true. Otherwise, I'm going to return false value. Or else, you can do one more thing also. What we can do is, before deleting the record directly, I can check user account repo dot exists by ID. Whatever the user ID I am passing, I'm checking with that ID record is available or not. If exists by ID is true, if exists by ID is true, then only I'm going to delete the record. User account repo dot delete by ID. Okay. So if it is deleted successfully, then return true. If the record is available, I'm checking whether the record is available or not by calling exists by ID. Find by ID is a method which is used to retrieve the record based on the given ID. Exists by ID is a method which is used to check with that given ID record is available or not. Exists by ID is a method which is used to check with the given ID record is available or not. With the given ID, if the record is available, then only I am deleting. If the record is deleted, then I am returning true. Otherwise, I am returning false value. Are you able to understand the logic for deleting the user record based on the given ID? When this method will be called, when user click on delete functionality, then this method will be called. Based on the user ID, we are going to check the record is available or not. Exists by ID. With that ID, if the record is available, it will return true. With that ID, if the record is not available, it will return false value. True and false. With the given ID, if the record is available, it will return true. With the given ID, if the record is not available, it will return false value. Are you guys able to understand my point? Are you guys able to understand my point? Clear? Perfect. Next one, update user account status. So I need to update the user account status. What is the meaning of this user account status? What is the meaning of updating user account status? When this method should be executed, guys? When this method should be executed? Soft delete. This method should be executed. This method should be executed when we are going to activate or deactivate the account. When we want to activate or deactivate the account, then we are going to use this update user account status. Which user? What is the status? Okay, I want to update it. In order to update the account status, I am going to write one custom query. What is that? Custom query I'm going to write to update the record. So let me write this method: public void update user account status. Public void update user account status. So based on user ID, based on status. Integer user ID, string status. So how can we do this update? To update that record, we are writing one annotation called @query. We are writing an annotation called @query. So update user account set active switch is equal to status, where user ID is equal to given user ID. So this is my HQL query. This is my HQL query. In this HQL query, we are writing entity class name, update user account, set active switch. What is active switch? Active switch is the entity class variable where user ID is equal to given user ID. Okay, that means I am updating the record based on the status. So if you click on the red color button, that record will be updated with active switch as N. If you click on the green color button, that record will be updated with active switch Y. So green means it will become Y, red means it will become N. So for the given user ID, for which record you click on the green or red, based on that record user ID, that status will be updated @query. So it is a non-select operation. For this, we need to specify @modifying and @transactional. So we are executing custom query. Custom query we are using to perform update operation. So in the data JPA classes, I have already explained. So what is the purpose of custom queries? How to write the custom queries? So I want the JPA to execute my query. For that, we are going for @query annotation. @query update user account set active switch is equal to what is the status we are getting from the UI. So in the UI, if you click on the green color button, status will come as Y. It will be updated to Y. So if you click on the red color button, status will come as the N. For which user? That user ID also we will get. So that's why update user account. This is my entity class name. Set active switch is equal to this status where user ID is equal to given value. So as this is going to execute a custom query to update the record, we are writing @modifying annotation, @transactional annotation. What is the purpose of @modifying? It is used to modify our user record, update operation, non-select operation with the transaction. So only one custom query I'm writing. This is one way to update the record. Are you clear with my custom query implementation? In the data JPA, when you are performing the operations by using predefined methods like save method, delete method, JPA will take care of the transaction. But when you are performing non-select operation with a custom query, you need to tell the JPA to open the transaction and commit the transaction. When you use predefined methods, JPA will take care of the transactions. But here, to update the record, I'm not using predefined method. I'm writing my own query, HQL query. So if you don't write these annotations here, your update operation will fail. due to lack of transactions. So when you are executing a non-select custom query, then you need to specify at the rate modifying and at the rate transaction. If you don't write these two annotations, our update operation will fail. This update operation will fail. You got it? So it is a basic database concept. When you are performing non-select operations with the database, transaction is required. When you are performing select operations, transaction is not required. So this is data JPA concept. Custom queries. Good. Now I want to call that method from here. Update user account status. So let me write that in the try catch block. Because if exception occurs, my status is failed. If exception not occurred, this is success. Let me call this method from here. User account repo dot update user account status with ID and status. So if this try block is executed successfully, then this method is going to return nothing. So simply I'm going to return true from here. If it is executed successfully, update operation is success, true. If this is a fail, then this method will return false value. True and false. True and false. If there is no problem in the try block, that means user account is activated or deactivated. It will return true. If there is a problem in the try block, this method will return false value. False means it is failed. Yes, this is used to update user account status. I'm just calling the repository method. In the repository, I have written one custom update query. So to write the custom queries in the repositories, we will use @query annotation. And this custom query is used to select the data, or this custom query is used to update the data. This custom query is used to update the data. So as it is a non-select operation, we need to specify modifying and transactional annotations in the repository method. So I am writing implementation for the method, or I am writing only abstract method to execute custom update query. I'm not writing any implementation. I'm writing only abstract method. There is no body. Then what about the body? Do I need to implement this method, or JPA will take care of this method? Do I need to implement this method, or JPA will take care of this method? Do I need to implement this method, or JPA will take care of this method? JPA will take care of these methods. Perfect. Now look at our service layer methods. Yeah, guys, so we are done with our service IMPL implementation. So we are trying to update the user account status. So whenever you click on this activate button or inactivate button, based on the user ID, based on the status, that user record will be updated. Then next one, delete user account based on the user ID. When you click on this delete button based on the user ID, we are checking the record is available or not. If the record is available, then that record will be deleted. If the record is deleted, it will return true. If record is not deleted, it will return. If the record is not available, it will return false value. Then get user account. When this method will be executed, whenever you click on the edit icon, that record we need to retrieve and we need to display in the UI page. So to display the data in the editable mode, we are going to call this method based on the user ID, it will retrieve the record. So to retrieve the record based on the user ID, we are using find by ID. With that find by ID, if the record is available, I will return, otherwise I will return null value. This method, which is used to get all the user accounts available in the system, get all the records and display in the UI. So once it is done, to save and update the user, I'm writing a single method which is used to save the user as well as update the user. Okay. So if this operation is successful, then it will return success message, save or update. If there is any problem with the save or update, then you can write try catch block. So if the try block is executed successfully, success message will be returned. If it is failed, then it will return error message. Okay, you can differentiate success messages and failure messages. Okay, all right. This method is used for saving the record as well as for updating the record. This method is used to retrieve all the records. This method is used to retrieve the record based on the ID for edit purpose. This method is used to delete the record permanently. This is hard delete operation. This method is used for soft delete operation, updating the user as active or inactive. Okay, cool. Now guys, you compare whatever the coding that you have done for the service layer, whatever the coding I have done for the service layer, are there any gaps available? Any difference you observe in your coding and my coding? If you do the coding on your own, then definitely you will get the maturity when you observe my code. If you don't do the code first, if you directly see my code, you will feel everything is easy because I'm writing. When I'm writing the code, if you see that, you will feel, okay, Sari is just writing the code, it is very easy. But when you try to do this on your own, then you will face some problems. You will get stuck somewhere. So that's that difference I want you to observe first. Then automatically your coding skills will improve. So yesterday I have given the time after the class is completed to implement the service class methods. I don't know how many of you done that implementation. At least try it to do that implementation. If you try implementing the service class methods yesterday, today you will understand where you have done the mistake, where you need to improve your coding skill. If you don't try the service class methods implementation yesterday, then there is no use of attending the today's class because today you are just observing whatever the code I am writing. You are watching a movie, that's it. You are not learning coding. If you try implementing those methods yesterday, so you might have done some coding part, you might have completed fully, then good. If you stuck somewhere, then you will feel where is that problem. You will understand where you are doing the mistake, where you need to improve your subject. That will give the maturity. That is the reason I asked you people to complete that code before coming to the class. Then you can learn something. Then this course will definitely help you to become a good programmer. If you don't do the assignment I have given, if you just listen to my class, if you take my class, your 3 months time will be wasted. Your 10,000 rupees or 12,000 rupees money will be wasted. Am I correct? Am I correct now? Guys, do you feel the difference in the coding? Do you feel the difference in the coding? You observe where you have done the mistake. You observed where you have done the mistake in the service class, where you get stuck in the service layer implementation. When I am writing the code, I will follow the good practices and I will complete that code. I will get the output, whatever I am expecting. Depends on the requirement. I will do the coding. The reason, I have 10 years experience in the Java and I have 8 years experience in the teaching. I have developed this kind of projects thousands of times in the real time. From 10 years, I'm working in the industry as a developer and as a lead. And from 8 years, I'm teaching the classes for the people. So there is a lot of difference. But for you, first time, you are doing the coding on your own. You can just compare. You attended core Java, you attended core Java, you attended advanced Java classes, you attended Spring Boot classes in the outside, in the other institutes. What is the difference? In that institute, trainer will do everything in the class. Student will not get the opportunity to think. Trainer will do everything. Trainer will share the workspace with the students. Student will use that workspace, will copy paste that code. Student will not get any doubt. Student will feel that application is working. But the problem, students are not able to develop the code on their own once they go to the company. So that is the reason in my classes, the approach is completely different. I will not teach the things directly. If I teach everything, then why you need to join? There are a lot of videos in the YouTube. For 300 rupees, lot of courses available in the Udemy. Why you join the course here? You join the course to improve your subject, not to take the code from me. There are n number of examples are there in the internet to perform the CRUD operations. But when I ask you to do it, you are not able to. The reason, your analysis skills are weak. You need to improve. You need to improve your analysis skills. Once you improve your analysis skills, automatically your coding skills will improve. And here also 130 people are there in the class. In this, mostly 10 to 15 people has tried this task yesterday. The remaining 110 people did not try. I know the student's mindset because once upon a time, I'm also a student. Whenever the faculty will give the assignment, we will simply take it light. अरे क्या करना भाई, हम already payment किया ना, कल वही बंदा बता देगा. Leave it. Faculty will do it in the class now, then we can see. So that mindset will be there for the student. That mindset will spoil your career. Remember that. If you feel we already paid 8,000 rupees, 12,000 rupees for Ashok IT for the project, faculty has to do everything in the class. Faculty has to share the workspace. We will do that. I told you, every class will be live. Every project will be live coding. Each and every line of code, I will write in front of you. Each and every line of code, I will explain. I will give the code also if you want. But who will be the loser? Who will be the loser? If I share the code with you, am I going to lose anything? Do you think that this code is a rocket science coding so that you will misuse this code? Will I lose my business if I share this code with you? Will I lose my money if I share this code? Nothing. I will not lose single rupee also if I share this code. If you take this code, you will lose your career because you will not think, you will not analyze, you will not try to do the things on your own. So if you want to become a programmer, if you want to develop the projects in the real time, you need to think, you need to analyze, you need to become independent programmer. Today I will give this code. In the company, every day you will get the requirement to develop the same screen. In the company, every day morning manager will develop this screen. Tomorrow also same screen. Day after tomorrow also same screen. for continuously 1 month, same screen development? No. Every day requirement is different. Every screen will be different. Every screen analysis will be different. For every screen, methods will be different. Method signatures will be different. Logic will be different. So this code, if you take, it may help you one day. That's it. Only one day. Because in the entire project, card operations will be there in only one screen. That's it. Tomorrow, new screen, new analysis, new requirement, new methods, new classes, new logic. Always you need to become dynamic programmer. Dynamic programmer means based on the given requirement, you should be able to analyze and you should be able to develop. You should be able to test it. You should be able to deploy. You should be able to deliver. Complete SDLC you should know, and you should be able to do it on your own without taking anybody help in the project. Now, honestly, now you know that whether you have done the assignment, because you are not a kid to check each and every one assignment, because you already completed your graduation. So I should not act like a teacher for you to check each and every one assignment. You are a professional. You joined here to get the job. If you get the job, your career will be settled. Your parents will feel happy. Your kids' life will be settled. 3 generations depends on your job. Your parents' generation, your generation, your kids' generation, life is dependent on your job only. Now I'm doing my job. My parents can take rest. They can happily enjoy because I'm earning money. My kids can happily take the good education, good lifestyle because I'm earning the money. And my wife and me can take the good lifestyle because I'm earning the money. So on my job, 3 generations are dependent. Same thing is applicable for you also. Your job is going to settle 3 generations in your family. So for that, you need to do good work. You need to get the good job. So to get the good job, good subject is required. Good analysis is required. Good coding skills are required. So that is what I'm teaching you in the JRTP, Java Real-Time Project. Why Java project is very famous in the market only in Ashok IT? The reason, our style of classes are different. Our approach in the teaching is different. It is not like other institute, faculty will teach everything. Here, student has to do everything. Faculty will help to the students to complete the task. That's it. Now, honestly, you can think who has done the assignment yesterday. Definitely, those people will get some maturity today. They have started doing the coding. Some people might have completed everything. Some people got some doubts in the middle. Some people are not able to implement fully. Then today, when I'm doing the coding, they will observe. Hey, yesterday I was not able to write this method. How Sar is writing? Let me focus. Yesterday I am not able to write this method. Why I am not able to do? Where I have a doubt. Today Sar is able to write this code in 2 minutes of time. That maturity you will get. If you don't try, if you directly attend the class, you will feel it is easy. But when you try to do it in the company, another requirement, you will not get any thoughts. Your mind will stuck. Your brain will stuck there. So in my point of view, coding is easy. Only analysis is difficult. Yesterday, I have analyzed what are the methods required. Most of the students, 95% of the students who don't know how to analyze the methods for the given requirement. If you can analyze the methods, easily we can implement the method. Now tell me, in your point of view, what you understood from yesterday and today. Coding is difficult or analysis is difficult? All of you type in the chat box. Coding is difficult or analysis is difficult? People are not responding. Analysis is difficult. So where you need to improve to become a good programmer? First, what you need to learn to become a good programmer? What you need to learn to become a good programmer? Analysis. Analysis is difficult. Understanding the requirement is difficult. Analysis is difficult. If you do the good analysis, then you can write the code easily. Okay. So guys, any conclusion for today class? Do you learn anything new in yesterday's and today's session? If you really tried the assignment I have given yesterday, definitely this today's class will be very, very, very helpful for you to understand where you have done the mistakes. If you don't do that, and if you don't try the coding on your own before coming to my class, then no benefit. Because I will write everything in front of you. You will watch like a movie. You will not feel any difficult because I will explain everything. So first you try, guys. First you try that. Okay. So now all of you, can you complete that service layer implementation? And can you try controller implementation before coming to tomorrow's session? Anyhow, tomorrow I'm going to develop the controller class and we will develop the UI pages. Tomorrow we are going to work on controllers, request handling part, response handling part with the presentation logic. Tomorrow our controller and UI part will be developed in the class. So I want, again, you have the opportunity to do the things on your own. What I'm going to do tomorrow, I already told you. Tomorrow I am going to develop the controller with the presentation files. So before going to attend the tomorrow session, please try to do that on your own. I'm not expecting that you will complete 100%. At least 50, at least 60% if you do it, then slowly your subject will improve. Got it? So I told you a couple of times, please do that before I'm going to do it. If you don't do it, then that is your bad luck. That is your karma. Nobody can change your fate if you don't take it seriously to complete the assignment. My responsibility is to tell you what to do, how to do. If you take it seriously, you will get the good subject, you will get the good job. If you don't take it seriously, I can't change your fate. Okay, it's up to you in which direction you want to complete this JTRP. So I have told you two approaches, approach 1 and approach 2. Always I will follow approach 2. Students should try first, then trainer will do in the class. If you go, trainer should complete first, then student will do. If you choose approach 1, then it is your bad luck. I can't do anything. If you go for approach 2, definitely before completion of this course only, you will get the job in the company with a good package. Because that much subject you are going to learn, and this will help you to survive in the company also. Aram say you can do your job in the company with a lot of confidence. Good. Fine. So with this, I'm done for today. In the today's session, I have created the pack project. I added the dependencies. I added the data source properties. I created my entity class and repository. And I completed my service IMPL also. In the tomorrow, I will develop controllers and view pages parallelly. Okay, good. So what is the task for tomorrow? Complete controllers, complete controller and template files, presentation files. Right, try that. Tomorrow I will do it. Good, guys. So tomorrow task is clear for everyone. What is the assignment for today? What is the today's assignment? Continuation. Whatever I have given yesterday, continuation for that. Create controller class with required methods. Develop presentation files. Create HTML pages with presentation logic. Test the application. Test application functionality. So tomorrow I'm going to do last 3 steps. Today I completed 4 steps. I created the project with dependencies. I configured the data source properties. I verified database is available. I have started my application also, it is running. I created entity class and repository methods. Then I have implemented service interface with IMPL methods. Tomorrow I'm going to do the controller class development with the UI pages, and I'm going to test my application. So before coming to today, so you have time 24 hours to try the things on your own. Please do that before coming to tomorrow's class. Thank you guys. Good. So exception handling, logging implementation, unit testing, we are going to do step by step. Mr. Maliadri, if I give 1 kg of cake, you can't eat at a time. So you need to take it piece by piece. Similarly, step by step, we are going to complete the project. If I teach exception handling, logging, code review, unit testing, deployment, Docker, Kubernetes, everything now, from tomorrow, people will not come to the class. Because slowly, we need to understand the topics. Got my point? Yeah. Anybody having questions? They can unmute their mic and they can ask me. Meanwhile,
Hi, sir.
Hello, sir.
Ashok sir, that service class you implemented, that why we don't get the null pointer exception, sir? That because data is absent, right? If you move
in some scenario, if data is deleted by someone, then there is a chance of getting the exceptions, right? Whatever the record I'm trying to edit, somebody can delete the record from other side. So that's why we will do proper checks before going to delete the record or before going to retrieve the records.
No, that all the methods that insert, update, delete, you all the methods you show the method.
Sir, once the testing we started, once the coding completed, once you go for testing, then we will understand clearly where is the problem and how to fix that problem. Okay.
Hello, hi sir, I'm Bhima.
Hello.
Hi sir, I'm Bhima.
Yeah, hi Bhima. Yes sir, you are audible.
Sir, I took I went with JPA with your course. In our app that visible, but I can ask to give the permission on portal, sir.
Sure, sir. I will check that, sir. I will talk to admin team and they will work on that.
Sir, I have one doubt.
With mobile, can't see the screen visibility.
Yes, sir. Sir, send a mail to admin team. Admin team will give you the access for that. So in the laptop also you can access that.
Okay, sir.
Hi, sir.
Sir,
Yeah,
without writing this service interface class, directly we can write that implementation class.
Sir, it's not a best practice, sir. It's not a best practice. So you need to understand one design pattern called strategy design pattern. So when we are developing the applications with the industry standard, so always better to develop the interfaces and implementation classes, not directly implementation.
Sir, you have written that database URL that is randomly, no? That is having any pattern or randomly you can write
it's
anything?
not random URL, sir. It's a fixed URL pattern.
Okay.
H2-console, it is a fixed URL pattern, not the random URL pattern.
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Sir, my time leap not working properly from my.
Tomorrow we are going to see that, sir. Tomorrow we will work on that.
Sir, when we use auto-wired annotation on a interface, how does it work actually? Because it's not a class, it's an interface.
Correct.
So
it will identify what is the implementation class available for that, and it is going to inject that. It is a basic Spring concept.
So it will, at the end of the day, it will only implement with using a class only.
Whenever you write auto wiring at the interface level, internally it will check what is the implementation class available for that. That implementation class object it is going to inject.
Okay, and sir, at the transactional, we only need to use when we are writing custom query.
When you are writing custom query for updating and deleting, or not for
in the last.
Okay.
Whenever we are writing only update operation, delete operation with the custom query, then only we need the transactional. Otherwise, it is not required.
So why is it means necessary?
That is
Cannot
the
JP?
JPA syntax, sir. When you are working with the custom queries with the non-select operation, database operations, transaction is required. That is a JPA database concept. Why it is necessary means you need to know the database topics. Whenever you are working with the database operations, for select operations, transaction is not required.
Right.
For non-select operations, transaction is required.
Okay.
Yeah, Ashok sir, is it fine to pass a int as a parameter instead of integer?
Sir, primitive data types not recommended to take as a data types in the entity classes. That's why we are taking wrapper classes. Why wrapper classes are recommended, that I will explain.
Okay.
And sir, the data which is we are going to send, it will come from the UI to controller, then controller to the service it will pass, right? That is the flow.
Yes, yes.
Okay. That was my main question, sir. How the data is, you created the classes, implemented the service class. Who is going to pass the data? That was my confusion.
Can you come again?
It's you implemented the service class, right? All the service class method. But the data is absent, right, sir? Data is not there. How the sir is implementing all the method without data? That was my confusion.
Right.
We are developing the control, then UI to the controller, then controller to the service layer it is coming.
Yes, sir. The flow is there now. From the UI, request will go to controller, controller to service, service to repository, repository to the database.
And about that one variable, sir, you created about the earlier, keep that comment also, sir, about in the service class, you commented the way you written the direct one line statement and keep that comment as it is, sir, for the better understanding that.
Sure, sir. Sure.
In one line you keep that comment also by adding that line, so it will for the clear understanding, sir. You written anonymous object over here, right, sir?
Right.
Anonymous object, I can say you written here.
Correct. All right.
Sir, we are using transactional, sir.
Sir, transactional.
The two it is showing, sir. One is Spring and one is Jakarta. Which one?
Jakarta one we need to use, sir.
Okay.
Because we are using Jakarta related packages, na?
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, sir. Sir, in real time, how do we use H2 database in office situation?
H2 database is only for practice purpose, not for real. Okay.
Okay, so we can use MySQL even, right, for that?
Yes, you can use. In the second project, I will use MySQL.
Okay.
Sir, what is anonymous object, sir?
Anonymous object. Where is anonymous object here? No.
Sir, can you repeat the last method for 1 minute? That active switch method.
Sir, this is used to activate the user or deactivate the user, depends on the operation. So now in our application, we have soft delete functionality, right? So whenever you click on this green color button, the account will be activated. When you click on the red color button, the account will be deactivated. To activate and deactivate the accounts, I have written one method with a custom query. So whatever the status you will give, that will update that status for that particular user record.
Okay,
sir.
Yeah.
Can you create packages and classes and methods names according to our choice or company rules, sir?
Sir, standards you need to follow, sir. What
company
class
standards.
you are, standards you need to follow. You cannot create a class with a name called test in this project, right? So
Yes,
you need
sir.
to follow some standards.
Okay.
Sir, in update user account status method, can we directly return it as a Boolean type instead of void?
You can write the methods whatever the type you want, but here this is update operation. You can take integer as a return type. It will tell you how many records are affected in the database. You can't return a Boolean.
Okay, sir.
Because this is not our method implementation. No? This implementation will be provided by JPA in the runtime.
Yes.
Sir, for birth date, we have used local date. If we use date or local date, how does it matter?
Sir, date is outdated concept, sir. In the Java 1.8, they have given local date concept class. So that is easy to work with the date related functionality. Instead of date, you can take date also. In the util package, SQL package, dates are available. But from 1.8 onwards, they have made some changes to date API. This is the latest approach to work with the dates in the Java.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, guys, good. With this, I'm stopping for today. So please work on the task which I have given for today. We'll continue in the tomorrow's class. Thank you, guys.